Sige po. So when we talk about vulnerabilities, what does vulnerability mean? Anong ibig sabihin nun? No? So sad to say that when you say vulnerability, this is the susceptibility, the openness of a person or a child to harm, no, to certain threat in the environment, in the immediate environment. So pag-uusapan natin today, what are these things around the child, whether in the home or outside the home, that may cause harm or threat to our children, to our very own children. Okay? Now, accordingly, the most vulnerable sector of the society are children. So bakit po kaya? Sa lahat ng tao, although there are two vulnerable sectors actually, the older generation and the children. But of course, the most vulnerable are children. Bakit po kaya? So we ask that question. When you say susceptibility to harm, bakit number one in the list are children? Okay. So number one, it's because children are so dependent on adults around them. Diba? They're dependent for care, for subsistence, for protection. So if parents or the adults around them do not play the role or the part that they should play, then we expose our children to vulnerability. Okay, ganun lang yung kasimple, no? Pag I would liken children or the family as a hedge. When they say a hedge, yun yung parang boundaries, no, that we set around our children. If that hedge gets broken, okay? Pag nasira yung hedge na yan, nasaan yung barrier that we set around, no? As our home, as our family. Okay. Number two, aside from children being so dependent on adults for survival, number two, dependent din sila. Their life is actually at the mercy of the adults around them, right? So, children are not capable of making decisions on their own. Kaya lahat ng mangyayari sa life nila from day one. What did I just say? Everything that happens in their life from day one, dependent on adults around them and the decision that adults make for them. So like how? The food that they eat, the school that they go to, the kind of home environment that is provided for them. May choice ba sila? Okay, question. Did they even choose the family they will be born into? So wala talaga, no? So lahat yan, sabi ko nga, children who are born in a very good family are so blessed. Para yang regalo. Kasi hindi nila pinili yan. Okay, paano naman yung mga children, you know, I would count your children, dear parents, as so blessed, you know, being in your family, being born in your family, no? And I commend you for being even right here, right now. Okay? Alam ko there are connectivity problems, but yung effort, yung interest, to be even a part of this webinar, I salute you, I commend you. No? Kaya sabi ko, paano naman yung mga bata na pinanganak, no, sa underprivileged, no, impoverished families. So they automatic day one pa lang, no? They are already they are born into scarcity, nakakaawa. Okay, so those are reasons bakit vulnerable ang children as a sector in the society. Okay, sige po, next slide. So let's go into what are vulnerabilities, no? What causes that in children? So makikita natin dito sa next slide, kids powerless. Of course, siguro as a parent, you would say, oy, powerless ba? Especially when our kids are so, ano yan? Headstrong, strong-willed, mas matapang pa nga daw ang children. Correct? Mas matapang pa yung mga bata kaysa mga magulang these days. So in what way? Demanding na, no? Alam na nila kung anong gusto nila. But I would like to again reiterate, in several situations, they are very powerless. Okay? Now, one example of this, financial difficulties. Okay, what can a kid do? Anong magagawa niya against that kind of problem? Now, I would like to cite a very specific instance. There was a family uh, who are having problem with finances. So yung bata, naririnig niya yon, no? They witness all the talks that we have at home, and we might say, wala, it does not affect them. Of course it does. Okay? So naririnig nila, they're a witness to all our squabbles. Okay? And there was this child uh, who listens to all the talk of wala tayong pera. Okay? Parents quarrel about money. Okay, parents having problems about how to pay the bills and all that. And you know, that child turned into a klepto. Okay, nagkaroon siya ng disease where it's a psychological disease where the child would want to have things, no, na hindi kanya. At that child tend to have cravings for what, material things. Gusto niya mag-possess. And the child, that person now is an adult. He's about 30 years old. Walang nangyari sa buhay niya because he has been in and out of prison dahil sa pagnanakaw or theft. Now, this is so sad because if you look back to what had caused such an abnormal and maladaptive behavior, you go back saan? You go back to the dinner table, no? You remember the times when they were eating dinner together and this child has been hearing the complaints, wala tayong pera, hindi pwedeng bilhin to, and all that. So parents, let's be careful. Okay? So kids are powerless. We are actually having all, meaning the responsibility, no, is so weighty on our shoulders. Napakabigat, no? We are the ones that mold our children. So, tapos yung bata, you can imagine them as something that's pliable. Okay? Pliable to what? Moldable to what you want, to what you will turn them into, no? Whether you're aware of it or not. So most of these things that we do, hindi tayo na ganun ang effect on our children. Okay, then next. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Now, another vulnerability for our children are our own living and care arrangements. Now, according to Martina and Zulaika, in 2016, a more significant vulnerability marker which is more closely associated with, okay, sorry, some parts of the slide, are key health and social outcomes than whether a child's parents are still alive or the kind of living and care arrangement the child has. Okay. So once the parents are having problems, like I have seen and we have seen as teachers, there are children whose parents are like sick, no, with a debilitating disease, no, may sakit. So another burden yan financially. Or some parents have died, no, prematurely. So na-experience ng mga bata yan. So what happens is that there comes a drastic change, no, in the living arrangement. So like, what happens pag nag-separate ang parents? And each parent now has a family of their own. So nakakalungkot yan, no? Because our children are left, okay, at the mercy, okay, of the uncertainties that they would face in life. Okay, nakakalungkot yan. So automatically, madidisgruntle yung kanilang sense of security. Okay, now I would like to look at two things. Usually when we discuss family systems, no, it's a course or a course as a whole. No, it's a family. When you talk about family therapy, there are what's called family characteristics. So what do they mean? No, they determine the type of family setting which it's a big on of the matter. Will that affect the development of the child? Yes, it will. Okay. Now, how about family dynamics? This would refer to interactions and relations that can exist between different household members. So, hindi lang what makes up the family. Who are the people that compose the family? Okay. What also matters is what kind of relationship, okay, do they have as members of that family? So lahat yan, all those things, I hope, I just said earlier that let's not go far. Let's check our own families. Okay? Tingnan na natin anong klaseng family tayo meron. What kind of family environment is the child growing into? Okay, let's not look far. Let's check our own families. Okay, so sad. I would tell my students, when we talk like this, I wouldn't like you to resent, no, the life that we have now. Kasi we may not have the ideal kind of family. Wala tayong choice dun eh. Hindi natin pinili yun. No? But if there are things you cannot change in your past, that is what I would tell them. Kasi mga teenagers yan. No? How you were treated by your parents and all those things. There are yet things you can do to your future as a future parent. Pwede mong i-correct yung mga mali na nangyari sa buhay mo. Okay? So, living arrangements. Kapag na-disgruntle ang family, automatic, who are those who suffer? Because adults can readily, what? Kunwari, nag-separate ang parents. Okay. Both adults can readily move on. No, they do move on. And who does not move on? Sino naiiwan? Who is left behind? Okay, sorry lang po. No? This is the sad and painful reality. We miss out on the children who are left vulnerable this time. I remember when we were having the advanced abnormal psych class in my PhD. We were made to look into cases, no, of abnormality, what caused them. And there were really situations, no, described in those cases.